Mutiny on the Bounty is directed by Frank Lloyd, who picked up the Best Picture Oscar winner for Cavalcade just 2 years prior to this. This was released in 1935 and it picked up the Best Picture in 1936. Now, before I get into my review of the film, I would just like to point out the elephant in the room. This film was released in 1935. It picked up Best Picture in 1936. Frank Lloyd, who directed the film, was director of the Academy from 1934 to 1935. That may be unfair to point that out, but it is a fact. I can't help but think that there is a certain degree of favoritism going on, a certain degree of loyalty, a certain degree of expectation amongst Academy members. But either way, whether there was any of that stuff involved in people's decision-making process, this is a really good film. So it follows the story of a ship called the Bounty, led by Captain Bligh, who went on a mission to Tahiti. They were going to pick up these plants that they would bring back and grow over here, and they'd be used for the slave plantations, essentially, to feed the slaves. Now, turns out that good old Bligh, the captain, was a bit of a douchebag and treated his crew like scum. His crew mutineered and cast him off, and Bligh did manage to get back home on a lifeboat and set sail once again to go after the mutineers. So all that is documented, all that is true story, and I think the film does a really damn good job of it. There's a certain bit of repetition that starts to set in where we get the point. We get the point that this guy's a douche. It maybe takes a little bit too long before the crew mutineers, I would say. But that's really, again, like I say, it's not that much of a criticism. The film's really well laid out and authentic, I would say. It feels authentic. So when we go to Tahiti, they used women who actually seemed like they were Tahitian. You know, I said recently about Around the World in 80 Days, something that somebody came at me against in the comments section, which I don't quite understand. But in that film, they used Shirley MacLaine as an Indian woman, a West Indian. And I was like, okay. Now, I was called woke for pointing that out. But, you know, even here, 20 years before that film, were essentially natives, you know. So there wasn't an excuse, as far as I'm concerned, even back in the 50s, to use Shirley MacLaine to play West Indian. Even the ship, the costumes, all the stuff on the Tahitian island, the way they live, you feel like you get a sense of what it would have been like. So at one point, you know, when the crew mutineer, they send Bligh away in his little kind of rowboat thing, which is quite funny. They go back to Tahiti, because where else are they going to go? And they settle down there, and they get wives, and all that stuff kind of feels like, again, authentic. I get a sense of what it must have been like to have done that, to have been part of that crew. I like the portrayal of all three of the main characters, which is Fletcher Christian, Captain Bligh, and Roger Byam. Now, Roger Byam, he was a member of the crew that was there to basically learn the language. Go over, learn the language of Tahiti so that they could, when they go back, it would help build the relations for future endeavours out there, and this, that, and the other. He is the character, I would say, that has the most moral fibre, the one who, even when he's struggling with all the stuff that Captain Bligh is throwing at them, he believes that the right thing to do is stick it out, get back home, and then report it in an orderly fashion. Whereas Fletcher Christian, he, again, a man with a lot of moral fibre who takes a lot of crap. You know, he goes through this film like just holding his tongue many times, but also challenging Bligh on the way he's doing things. Like, it's not a case that he never challenges him and then so his mutiny just comes out of nowhere. No, he challenges him time and time again until it gets to a point where enough is enough. I've got to do something. You go through the film and you think, how long would I have taken it? How long could I have taken it? Who do I side with? Do I side with Byron, where I'm like, no, stick it out, get there till the end, and then do something about it? Or would I have been the Christian, the Fletcher Christian character, who's like, no, enough's enough, I've got to protect the men, this guy needs to go. And I think that the fact that the film puts you in that moral quandary, that questioning what would you do, is one of its strengths. So you've got those two kind of competing sides on the moral side, the side of right, and then you've got Captain Bligh, played by Charles Laughton. It's a strange performance, but it's effective. He's a snivelling wretch, basically. All the way through this, you just want to punch the guy. That's exactly the desired outcome that one should be looking for from the audience with a character like this. You know, you should want your audience to mutiny against this man also. He is also more than a snivelling wretch. This is an accomplished man. This is a guy who can be tossed out to sea in nothing but a lifeboat and make his way back to land. You know, while the people that were on his side and get tossed out with him, they're all kind of in the lifeboat grumbling and essentially just waiting to die, and they're all unconscious, sleeping. He's the one still with his eyes open, still searching for land, still rowing the boat, still getting them there. And so you can't help but have a little respect for that. And the fact that he, you know, as soon as he gets back home, he, you know, gets another ship going and decides to go after the mutineers. This is a guy who's driven. This is a guy who knows the seas. Whether he treats his men like crap or not is neither here nor there in discussing whether or not this guy is capable. Charles Laughton, Clark Gable and Franchot Tone, if I'm pronouncing that right, they play these three characters and they all do a great job. They were nominated, all three of them were nominated for Best Lead. First time in Oscar history. I don't know if it's happened again since, to be honest, but it was certainly the first time in Oscar history that three actors got nominated for lead actor for the same film, and deservedly so, I think. I think all three men do a really remarkable job of giving you a sense of who each of their characters are, you know, which is what an actor should do. Even if there's something not on the page, they should be able to present it in such a way that keys you into just who they are. Frank Lloyd does a really great job directing as well. One of the things I noticed about his previous win, Cavalcade, a film that I will never watch again. It was good, it wasn't great, but his directing in that was great, I thought. Given that it was from 1933, he was moving the camera in ways that, you know, I've seen films come way after that and they're still not moving the camera in the way that he was in order to tell the story in the most effective way. And again, same here. He's got a handle on the material, and he spent years with this. You know, he bought the rights for this, or he got the rights for this quite some years before, and he spent a good decade kind of building up to the making of this film. So it's understandable that he would pick up Best Picture for this. Great film, great story, real great piece of history, to be honest, human history that definitely deserves telling and retelling. And this film has been retold multiple times. I know of at least 2 remakes. So yeah, great film, but have you seen it? And if so, what did you think about it? Was it a worthy Best Picture Oscar winner? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this review, and until next time, crack in.